what you're afraid of actually isn't even the thing that you're really afraid of. You're probably just fearful of some things that are very controllable. You think you're afraid of the travel, but you're not. You're afraid of it might throw you off your routine. Or you think you're afraid of the work schedule, but you're not. You think you're really afraid it's going to take you away from somebody. So these are things that you can mitigate. These are things that you can control, and that helps to take the fear out of it. And we're back
with another episode of He Said, She Said.
So Lori and I have been talking about living in the future and how much anxiety you can build up for yourself when, God, none of it freaking comes true. And it came from a place of, we just got back from New York. And then the next day when we got back from New York, we spoke at an event. And that was on the tail of what was like a 5-week string. And I'm actually still in it, of traveling to 1 or 2 locations every week. So we're talking like 10 trips in 5 weeks, speaking at 1 or 2 events or running my own in that 5 weeks every week. Like if somebody lined up a timeline and you saw it, you'd be that mind blown emoji. And the problem is when I was looking at the future, when I was looking at my calendar of all the travel coming up, I had so much anxiety around it.
Freaking out.
I thought it was going to be the worst 5-6 weeks of my life. Here we are 4 weeks into the 5-6 weeks, and I love it. And I feel so great. I've never had so much energy, and I want more of it. And so we kind of wanted to talk about this today, that when you look into the future, you're just inviting in anxiety over something that probably isn't going to happen or isn't going to unfold or isn't going to feel the way that you think it's going to feel. And instead, you could just be living in the present, realizing how good you have it in the moment.
It is a real thing that I've had to learn. And it's not that I don't live in the future. I definitely take a little future trip at least once a day, if not every single day. But when I do it, they're just a lot more brief now. Because right when I go on that trip and I start to freak out, I'm like, this isn't helping anything. Like, it's not happening right now. In fact, you've got, some space here and here, whatever that looks like. It is a real craft that you hone in on to be able to start to compartmentalize every single moment and every single day. And there's that beautiful quote by Lao Tzu that talks about, if you live in the past, you're depressed. If you live in the future, you're anxious. And if you're living in the now, you're present.
Yep.
And it's so true. There were times in my life where I was living in the past and I was very depressed. And I would say now I'm much more future focused. So I have a lot more anxiety. And I think that people who listen to this podcast, I think that you probably lean more into the anxious because you have a lot of things that you want to get done. You never feel like you're doing enough, or you have a lot on your plate and you're overwhelmed. So while I do believe that there is some things that you might need to do to take off of your plate to stop feeling so anxious, sometimes in life, like where we are right now, yes, Chris and I probably could have said no to some of these things. In fact, we have been reassessing, could we have said no to this? What does this look like in the future? Do we want to say no to certain things or hold space for certain things to come through? But ultimately, we looked at this very busy schedule that we have right now, and we decided, yes, we wanted to say yes to all of these incredible opportunities. So now that we've said yes, that's actually part of how I deal with it is, okay, you might be anxious, but you wanted all of this. I actually have said this probably 10 times in the past week. Hey, remember when we wished people would ask us to be on stage? Remember when we would have literally died if we got to speak in front of hundreds of people twice in 1 week? Oh my God. Remember when we would have freaked out if people paid for us to come and speak, and also we got incredible trips to New York? What?
Yeah, New York, Miami, LA, all that bouncing back and forth. That was what we used to pray for and say that would be the greatest thing ever. And so the whole point is, when I looked at this 6-week stint, man, I had a lot of anxiety around. I didn't know how I was going to make it through it. And now that I'm 4 weeks into it, it feels amazing. It is the opposite of what I was afraid of. And so I just wanted to take the moment to remind people to not build that anxiety. Don't count yourself out, because it may not look and feel the way you think it's going to look and feel. Just be in the present, tackle what's in front of you, and put on the set of lenses that sees the bright side of everything. I mean, now going through this 6-week stint, being 4 weeks in, I would do this all the time. Like I'm so high energy. I'm having so much fun with this. I think I said yes to all of the exact right things for the first time in a long time. And so just because there was a lot of things in a certain period of time doesn't mean that there was a single one of them that shouldn't have been a yes. For me, they were all hell yeses. And it's reflecting in the way that I feel. And that is really good.
Hey y'all, I'm so excited to share with you that this podcast, Earn Your Happy, is now a part of the Growth Day Podcast Network. Truly, this is like one of the most exciting things that has ever happened to me. I'm telling you, I no longer feel like I'm doing this alone, and I actually get to collaborate with the people who host the podcast that I'm obsessed with, like that I have been listening to myself, who inspired me to start a podcast, who have taught me about how to go and do the thing, like the original people who got me motivated through listening to their podcasts. You guys, a bunch of us are coming together to bring more growth to the world and to support shows and brands that we believe in. And one of my friends are also on this network, and I'd love for you to go subscribe to their show. You guys, I just had Danielle Canty on of the Boss Babe podcast. She co-hosts it with her other amazing co-host and one of my friends, Natalie Ellis. You guys, you can go check out that podcast on mine. It's episode 925, and Danielle and I talk all about burnout and how that could be showing up in your life, and most importantly, how to prevent it. But I want to tell you, if you have not gone and checked out the Boss Babe podcast yet, go subscribe, because it is one of the largest online communities for ambitious women and female entrepreneurs. And I know that if you're listening to the show, chances are that's probably you. You guys, they have 3.6 million followers and 380,000 subscribers. The Boss Babe podcast is the place where they share real behind the scenes of building successful businesses, achieving peak performance, and learning how to balance it all. Most of all, you guys, truly, these women are in my life. Danielle and Natalie are people that I text on a weekly, monthly basis when I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel stuck. What should I do? I tune into their podcast, you guys, to learn. Even though they're my friends, I am still like crazy obsessed with this podcast because I learn something new every single time I listen. It makes me be a better podcaster. It makes me be a better businesswoman. It just makes me be better and more confident out in the world because they're so real and raw. And I can tell you that in the moments where I have had horrible days, down days, I've either gone and listened to this podcast or I've texted them, because these are the people who truly get it. You want to listen to the people who are walking in the same footsteps that you are. You guys, go check out the Boss Babe podcast. You're not going to be sorry. And it's just going to like make you way smarter and you're going to have way more fun. So go check it out.
You know, I think a lot of times there's also a deeper underlying root issue under the, oh, I feel overwhelmed. And if I'm being totally honest, for me, when I get a very packed schedule and I'm traveling all the time, there's like this asterisk of, oh my gosh, you're going so backwards with your health. You're not getting your workouts in. You don't feel good. Are you ever going to be able to make it back to where you feel really good again if you keep going down this journey of not having the time and space to really take care of yourself? And when I was in New York, I was like, oh my God, I'm so aware that these are choices that I'm making of having drinks every night, maybe eating too much at night, or things that are really rich that were keeping me awake. And so then I'm not sleeping good. So then the next day I already feel behind the 8 ball and I don't feel great. And I've had a couple trips that were really awesome and I really dialed it in. And then I had some that were totally not. And you know what? This is called balance. And also when I have these long stretches, what not being healthy made me realize is that if I'm going to do this again and it's going to be sustainable, I do, in fact, have to be more aware and prepare myself mentally, along with really think about how I'm going to do my best to stay healthy and plan my workouts on the road. And we did a really good job of moving in New York. We walked and walked and walked every single day. And I think that that was my saving grace that made me come back and say, okay, we're doing all right. We still feel good, like mentally and, you know, in your body and all of the things. So for me, in order to not get overwhelmed, a beautiful thing to do is to make sure that I have my plan in place to stay healthy.
It's really interesting because what I just heard you say, and I'm sure you realized you said or not, your anxiety didn't come from the schedule.
No.
And your anxiety didn't come from the number of places that we're going to be.
It did not.
And your anxiety did not come from the number of things that we're going to be doing. It came from your fear that you couldn't control your health.
Yes.
That you came from the fear that you'd make unhealthy choices.
And then my sleep, and then it would just spiral and I'd start to feel awful. Yeah.
So it's a great lesson to us and to everybody listening. What you're afraid of actually isn't even the thing that you're really afraid of. Mm-hmm. You're probably just fearful of some things that are very controllable. You think you're afraid of the travel, but you're not. You're afraid of it might throw you off your routine. Or you think you're afraid of the work schedule, but you're not. You think you're really afraid it's going to take you away from somebody. So these are things that you can mitigate. These are things that you can control, and that helps to take the fear out of it.
It definitely does. And I just want to talk to the people who are like, well, easier said than done, because this has been a journey for me. Sometimes it's in the beginning, it did not feel quote unquote easy. It felt like I was not in control. It felt like I couldn't have access to exactly what I wanted. But in the long run, what I learned is you don't have to be 100% dialed in all the time at all. In fact, I think it is good to get a bit out of your routine, but just make sure that you have a little bit of movement scheduled every single day. Make sure that you're drinking your water on the road. Try to bring any supplements that you're used to taking and stay as close as you can to that morning routine. And that is really, really huge, along with something that's really changed for us is when we're on the road, we try to keep our whole day up until dinner as healthy as possible.
Yep.
And it's not that we go, balls to the wall when dinner comes. It's just that you're probably going to be eating with people. You might have a glass of wine or two, whatever that looks like, and you're going to be just fine. But just try the best that you can to keep your day up until that 5-6 o'clock point as healthy as possible.
So if there's any message for you to take out of it, it's this: whatever you're worried about in the future, it's not going to feel as bad as you think. It's going to probably feel better than you think. The things that you're actually worried about are not the true things you're worried about. The true things, once you uncover it, that you're worried about are probably controllables. Mm-hmm. And while it's not always easy to make the better choice, it is within your power to make the better choice. And that's a muscle that you build. You're in control. It doesn't have to feel bad. Lean into having the exact productive life you want, and put in the boundaries to have it feel the way you want it to feel.
I just want to add one last thing, because I can get really overwhelmed with the workload that can pile up while we're gone. And something that I did on this trip was I just took an hour to 3 hours every single day. And I went to an amazing coffee shop and made it part of my experience. And I would do work there. And I committed to this because when I got home, I didn't want to feel so overwhelmed and behind. And also that's where a lot of my overwhelm on the trip can come from, is thinking that people need me or there's things that I need to respond to. So just simply by scheduling 1 to 3 hours a day on these trips when you're really overwhelmed or you have a very loaded schedule, I felt so relieved. I felt amazing. So you guys, I hope that any one of these tricks or all of these tricks really helps you with overwhelm. And we're so grateful for you tuning in.
Thanks for listening. Love to appreciate you.
Hey, I know if you're listening to this podcast that you have big dreams and big goals. And one of the things that can really stop you is struggling with your marketing. Trust me, I have been there. Are you using 10 different systems just to build your online business? Then I want you to try Kajabi. Kajabi helps you build your web pages, set up funnels, and sell your courses, content, coaching, or communities. You've been hearing me talk a lot about funnels on this podcast and the importance of your email list. You can get a free trial at kajabi.com. That's Kajabi.com. I've talked about Kajabi before, but here's something that's super cool and new. They just rolled out an AI assistant for creating your online course curriculum. And this means you just type in a topic that you want to create on a course or webinar and bam, it just generates a sample outline for you. It takes a ton of the hard work away. Of course, you're going to customize it to be your own, but this really helps you get over the struggle of how in the world to start
which is where most people stop. If you're like me, starting is always the hardest part, and that's what makes Kajabi so popular. They've made it easier for creators to build web pages, build courses, build coaching programs, build membership sites, build checkout pages, and build email funnels. So if you're struggling with any of those, you got to go check it out. Go to kajabi.com. Kajabi was really the first all-in-one system and is trusted by over 100,000 creators. I think that's good enough for me. Also has influencers and marketers who use this. And now their smart AI platform makes it easy to take what you know and turn it into an online course and business. Go start building with a free trial at kajabi.com. That's kajabi.com. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. And I want to make sure that you have my phone number, and I'm not kidding. Did you know that I have a community text number? For real. My phone number is 310-496-8363. This goes directly to my phone. All you have to do is text the word daily to 310-496-8363. And I literally text you every single day, Monday through Friday. I actually just got done 30 seconds ago texting a bunch of people back, and I talk to you all of the time. You guys, people always ask me how I got my community text number and how it works. Well, all you have to do is you can just go to community.com and get your own. Community makes it easy to get a phone number that you can use to build your audience using text. People just text you at your number and they're added to your group. Then you can text them out audios, video links, anything you want. You guys, I text out happy birthday videos. I love to send podcast links, thoughts about life, book recommendations, different events that I'm doing in the local area. Texting gets me out of the noise of social media and directly into your hand. And now you can start texting your people too. Just go to community.com to get your phone number. They give you a 10-digit real phone number, not those weird short codes that look like spam, but it's more than a phone number. Your new number comes with an inbox for SMS and texting. This means you can actually manage your text list from your computer and an app on your phone. You can schedule text to send at certain times and to certain groups. You can even set up auto replies or let your assistant or customer service team answer your text messages via Community's awesome dashboard. Just go to community.com and ask for a free demo. They'll show you how it works and get you your number. It's time to start texting your audience versus just posting on social media. Everyone uses Community for that. So go check them out at community.com. I can tell you it's not just great for communicating with my audience, but Chris and I use Community and our texts to also sell out our launches. I'm telling you, you get such an incredible response because you really are creating a true, deep sense of community. And it's so intimate. It's freaking amazing. Go check it out at community.com.